Welcome to Bowles Rice Pathways to Practice. This podcast explores the many paths that people take to grow, lead, and thrive in the legal profession, and the lessons that we learn along the way. I'm Unaiza Tyree, and I'm a litigator here at Bowles Rice. And in this series, we'll have candid conversations about resilience, adaptability, and building meaningful careers in a profession that's constantly evolving. Let's get started. So thank you so much to our distinguished panelists for being here today. Well, I'll get to those in a moment. But I wanted to start out by saying and honoring Women's History Month, which is why I wanted to bring all of us together today. As it's March 31st, so we're closing out Women's History Month today, we wanted to take a moment to reflect on progress and recognize the leadership, impact, and enduring contributions you women have brought to shape our communities and our future. It's especially fitting that we're concluding this month by hearing from you all and hosting you all today. Thank you for being here. This year's theme for Women's History Month is Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future. This theme is not just aspirational. It is something that our panelists who are here today embody every single day. Through their work, they're driving meaningful, lasting progress across our region. In many ways, their leadership reflects the values that we hold here at Bowles Rice. Our commitment to excellence in the law is matched by a deep dedication to service, leadership, and strengthening the communities that we serve. The women with us today exemplify those same principles through advocacy, counsel, public service, and civic engagement. I've been with the firm for 8 years next month, and I'm so honored to work here and truly can say here that, I value the people I work with so much. They truly embody these principles that are in our mission statement, and I'm honored to be here and host today. So I would like to start by introducing our panelists. Tricia Clark, managing member at Suttle and Stalnaker, PLLC, demonstrates the importance of trusted professional leadership, combining technical expertise with meaningful civic engagement across West Virginia. Justice Beth Walker of Supreme Court of Appeals of West Virginia exemplifies our firm's legacy of legal excellence and public service, having built a distinguished career that we're all so familiar with that includes decades in private practice here at Bowles Rice before serving on our state's highest court. Charleston Mayor Amy Goodwin brings visionary leadership and a record of impactful public service, advancing initiatives that promote economic growth in our state, infrastructure development, and community well-being across our capital city. And of course, last but not least, Dr. Michelle Foster, President and CEO of the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation, reflects a commitment to philanthropy and community investment, leading transformative efforts that strengthen opportunity and quality of life throughout our region. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. So I wanted to start out our panel discussion this morning talking about leadership development. And Tricia, if you wouldn't mind starting us off, can you briefly share a pivotal moment or decision that shaped your career path that led you to where you are today?
As I looked through the questions to be prepared for today's panel, I got to look back over the last 35 years almost of a career that has been very rewarding and in ways that I don't think I could have ever articulated on the front end of what it would look like over a path. And I don't think when you start your career, you understand where you're going to be and what you're going to do. And but then when you get to look backwards, you think, gosh, there were a lot of pivotal moments. I think that overall, if I look at it and define one career, one moment, it was when I realized that I was not going to be led down the path. I was going to have to figure out the path. I was not going to be told daily what to do. I was going to have to figure out what to do. And there is a sentinel moment where I remember that happening. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for the person who didn't show up the day that I had to figure out something. And I flipped from, I think, being led to learning and growing and leading. So I think that's probably how I would shape that, is there is a point in time when you have to figure out you're not going to be led anymore. You're going to have to do the leading.
That's absolutely incredible to hear. I think it's really the journey, like they say, as cheesy as it is, but truly, once you kind of look back, one day you started just leading.
And figuring.
Yes.
And figuring it out.
Yes, exactly.
So.
Exactly. That's.
And so I love that you answered first. And thanks for the invitation, for being here, because it's not nearly as aspirational, but I think it's still important. Other than the moment in seventh grade when I decided to be a lawyer, which is probably the most pivotal moment in my life. Another one just points out the importance of being open to opportunity. A lot of lawyers, because we're very high achieving and strivers, and especially women, because not only are we all those things, but we have to be perfect all the time. We think, oh, we've got to map it all out. It's got to be perfect. And anyone who worked with me at Rolls-Royce knows I never talked about being a Supreme Court justice as a young lawyer. I just wanted to be a good lawyer. I just wanted to work hard, do the things, get the point, whatever it was, be a partner. But the pivotal moment in evolving into a public service opportunity occurred at, of course, a bar where a lawyer said, in that stage of my life, a lawyer said, well, why don't you run for the Supreme Court? And, there was an election coming up in 2008. That's the one I ran and lost by a very close margin. And literally I said, well, okay, I'll do that. And obviously thought about it, talked to Mike, all the things. But sometimes those opportunities drop into your life and you have to be, it's not going to be perfect. It wasn't perfect. I lost, right? But it opened up a whole nother chapter of my life that I didn't even know was waiting for me.
Chime in?
I got fired. That's just real, right? Tom, I got fired. And at that point in my life, I'd never been let go from any job or anything in my life. But when you work in politics, that field, when someone new comes in, by the way, I was on the opposite side for a really long time, of being in the room with maybe some lawyers in this room who were also letting people go, because that's what happens, right? There are transition points that happen. And when you have a team that you're going to build, you're going to put people around that you know. But during that time in that space, I remember thinking, oh boy, now what? And so I had spent my entire career in public service, and the transition point for me was, okay, now you have to start over again. And so I did what I thought I was supposed to do, because I'd always been a communications director and worked at the federal level and the state level, and it was consulting, and that was what I was really good at doing. And I never, ever, ever thought, and was the person who said, I'm never running for public office. I work behind the scenes. And just like if anybody knows anything about the Barbara Lee Family Foundation, it's a great organization that does research on women and women in politics and why they run. And I could check off that immediate box. I started to get angry about the things that I really started paying attention to. And that was in the city, because I'm a mayor, but I'm a mom and a wife first. And so I said one day with my big mouth open, well, that's not right. I mean, this needs to be done. And my husband said, well, then you should run. And so that's actually what happened so many years ago, 10 years ago, almost a decade now. And so that was really the point, that even though that's your education, even though that is your tagline, that's what people know you as, and that's the path that you follow, sometimes it takes a complete turnaround to say, maybe there is a different path for you. You don't have to just take the path that you're on.
Right. That's incredible. Dr. Foster?
Yes, I traveled on the scenic route to my current career. When I was growing up, I knew nothing about foundations or philanthropy. Well, officially the term philanthropy or anything. I was an engineer. I moved here many years ago to become a chemical engineer at Union Carbide. Those of you who've been around a while, that's why I moved here. And I, love math and science. And even though I didn't know about engineering either, I was in a study group and someone was like, you're so good at this stuff. Why don't you be an engineer? But anyway, while working as an engineer at Carbide, I started volunteering at my church and realized that it just lit up a whole new world for me. And I couldn't wait to get off of my engineering job to volunteer at whatever youth program, whatever it was that we were working on. And, over the years, the pastor was like, Michelle, what will it take for you to come work for us? And I'm like, whatever, you can't pay me, But eventually it worked out where engineering just kind of I lost interest. It killed my work. And I eventually made the plunge not to another engineering firm, but to running a nonprofit full time out of the basement of my church in Ferguson. It's called Ferguson Memorial in Dunbar. And I was never happier. I had to deal with a pay cut, but I never missed a mortgage note, never missed a meal. And it just worked out. And after working there for 18 years, the foundation, Becky separately was retiring, and the recruiter reached out and said, hey, your name keeps coming up. Would you like to interview? And I knew Becky was leaving, but I never thought of myself in that role. And 10 plus years, it's been now, here I am. And it's been my best career ever. No regrets.
That's wonderful. So it sounds like sometimes it's subtle and sometimes it's a bam moment. Like, oh, I got fired. That's incredible. I love that insight and how different it is for each one of you. So what did leadership look like early in your career versus now, when you've been established in your career now? But Amy, if you want to talk about, start us off, what did leadership look like very early on?
Yeah, sure. Well, it looked very much like Lindsay and Katie in your Martinsburg office. I met Katie and Lindsay at the last West Virginia Women's Business Summit. So shout out to Bowles for continuing to invest in putting young women, I was in their group, out there to have those opportunities to connect. I have their cell phone numbers. We've connected. I mean, Katie in Martinsburg, I know she's in the other panhandle. Don't get me started about what panhandle is the best panhandle.
They all are.
But right? Well, I don't know. But it started out like that, and getting opportunities and talking to other people. And I learned that truly through, and people, by the way, I'm not an expert. Thanks for Bowles for inviting me to sit with these folks. When I first got the invitation, I was like, I just don't even know what I will say when I get there. But when people say, what did you do in your career? It wasn't being advanced for Hillary Clinton. It wasn't being John Kerry's communications director. It wasn't being communications to Rory Tomlin or press secretary Bob Wise or being in TV. It was being a waitress, which I know sounds kind of flip and cute and coy, but it really was. Leadership is, I think, actually the same, no matter if you're a waitress or you're mayor. And the reason why I say that is they are so similar, service jobs to public service jobs. You're the first one in, you're the last one out. You're working all night. You're working crazy hours. You're working with people that love you and people who do not love you. And you have to remember a lot. You have to keep high energy. And so leadership actually, I think, looked, at least for me, a little bit the same. I was very fortunate because I was given some opportunities to learn and grow, like Bowles is doing for your team as well. And I think that's just incredibly important. So I want to make sure I give that shout out too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So leadership for me started right here. I joined Bowles Rice in 1990, and coming from Ohio, I didn't have any connections to West Virginia. I interviewed with firms and places, and for whatever reason, this firm seemed like a place where a woman could have great opportunities to practice law. It was very intangible. There was no marketing effort. There was no tagline. It was just the people I met made me feel confident about that. And it turns out I was right. And I was given opportunities here. Leadership for me, you're catching me. I'm just going to, full disclosure, other people in this room are in the same place. I'm kind of in a nostalgic mode right now with the loss of Tom Graff. And so I'm remembering a lot of those leadership when we did the TQM, and David Hardesty had the deep fought polo shirt. And, we were doing all this leadership stuff that was teaching me exactly what I needed to know 25 years later when I showed up at a court that was in need of some repair. And it was very lucky, like part of it's luck, part of it's hard work, part of it's all the things. But being in the right place, I mean, I couldn't be more grateful to both. And I don't mean to go all gushy, and I don't want to get too carried away because I'm still a senior status justice. I could conceivably sit on a case in the event of disqualification, so I don't want to overstep. I know we're recording this. I know. Please,
It'll be in the fine print on the bottom of the screen.
Sitting in the room and seeing some of the folks who are here and remembering all of that incredible opportunity that I had as a young lawyer, that's where leadership looked like for me.
Dr. Foster?
I think leadership for me began because someone saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. The people who encouraged me to pursue my passion, I didn't really start up those gifts within me.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to do that with others now when I see talent and I see folks who maybe may not be in the light, just really encouraging them, giving them opportunity to show what they can do. And I think someone did that for me. And I think I make sure that I continue that as I work with others, and just really having that sense of hope. I mean, we are living in crazy times, but just really looking for glimmers of hope and hanging on to that has also helped me.
Absolutely. I can actually echo that. All of my mentors are in this room. I'm so grateful. I don't think I would see those things in myself that hopefully lead me to be, somewhere strong one day without those folks. So I think, those mentors are so valuable in your leadership journey. I'm sure you all can echo that. Tricia, what did leadership look like early in your career versus today?
When I read the question, I took it very literally, and I thought it looked very male. Very male oriented. And it's been wonderful to see that change over the course of my career and to see women in leadership. But echoing what Beth said, I was very fortunate to join a firm that not only wanted to invest in my technical skills, they wanted to invest in my professional development skills, my personal skills, and really to create a well-rounded person. And I think that bolstered my confidence to be a leader. And we try to do that at the firm we're at now. We're not all about, you have to, your technical skills, of course, have to be invested in and grown. But we want to bring the person along with it because we're all better when we're well-rounded.
Yes.
And that we can be leaders.
Yes.
So I think if you're looking back, it was very male, but they were very into making sure that we were well-rounded. And I often say, I worked in a place where I could voice my opinion in a way that I was either responded to as you have a point, you're off base, or you don't have all the facts. And all of those are correct answers that help you grow as a person and validate you or tell you, hey, let's do a little more research, or you're way off base. And that's all okay. So I think that's where my leadership started.
Thank you so much for that insight. So now looking back, what challenges were unique to your field or role that stand out to you today as a woman in your industry? Amy, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So has anybody been to the mayor's conference room in City Hall? When you walk in, there's one thing that smacks you in the face when you walk in, and it is an entire wall about this size. And it is a wall filled with pictures of white men and 16 by 20 photos. It just is. It is what it is. And so that is real. And so that is a challenge to begin with, I think, just because we walked in every day. And I know this is being recorded and it's being broadcast live across the state, but I'll just be real. I went in and I said, I don't want this in my conference room. No, thank you. I don't want every day to be reminded that this space and this place has only been this picture. But then I realized after a few months that it says more about Charleston now that they elected me than me. I was only one vote. The way that we're looking at leaders and the and the way that we're evolving and changing is because we are making those changes. And so while I have a very large wall with a lot of photos of men, these men, by the way, created a very good path for Charleston. And there are many good things that they have done. Because, by the way, being a public servant for men or for women is harder today than it has ever been, ever in our nation's history. And so their service should not be just, taken down or moved along, even though I did want to put them in a really nice hall or down the, wherever. So I think that was a challenge to begin with. But the older I get, and I'm double nickels now, is that I'm realizing that we can learn so much from everyone, no matter if there are women in the room as well. Some of my mentors who are in this room are men. I mean, I'm looking at Peter Markham, I'm looking at Tom. And I'm just so glad that it is changing. And my hope for women in the future, especially in my profession, are fathers like Mark with his Lainey, or Peter with Addie Kay, Addo, as she likes to call her own self, is that they are building and filling up their daughter's cup to understand, to know that you may be the first one, you won't be the last one. And so that encouragement is actually really real, but it's also by sending people to conferences out of their comfort zone. It's by pushing women in positions, even though you think, well, I'm not sure if she's just ready, pushing them along and saying, oh, no, you're ready. Go ahead and do these things. So I know I've answered 9 different questions on the question, but I wanted to make that recognition as well. I am super blessed to have really strong men in my life who support women and who are, I feel like, mentors to me as well.
I'm glad you said that. I absolutely echo that as well. So you kind of talked about and touched on mentors, and so did Tricia. I wanted to transition into how did mentors influence your trajectory in your career? I'll take it off.
Shall you start? You haven't started.
I think it's a mentor who really helped me to realize what my gifts were and gave me the opportunity to lead. So I think it was very pivotal in my life. And really to kind of answer that previous question, I'm a Black woman in Appalachia. I've had to work double, triple to really be taken seriously and to be given opportunity and a seat at the table. But if it were not for that mentor giving me that opportunity to show what I'm made of and to show what I can do, I would never be in this position. And, it's just a part of being a Black woman, really having to work double, triple harder than anyone else. So that's just a way of life. So that's so powerful.
Beth?
So this is such a nuanced discussion, this whole women and mentorship and all of that. And it's hard to kind of boil down, but for me, I think it's just been really hard not to crack, particularly in law. When I graduated from law school in 1990, in the dark ages, half of my class were women. I mean, we were already there. Half of the law schools now are women. But in these 35 years, 36, law firms are still primarily led by men. Look down at the Capitol, not a lot of women in those leadership roles, particularly in the legislature. And it's just been really hard to figure out why, because I know myself, there was nothing holding me back. I know I did not run into impediments. I mean, things weren't, once you realize that life isn't fair, to your point, I mean, you kind of, you take the cards that you're dealt, but I haven't quite figured it out. But I do know that mentorship is one path forward. If you can find folks who you want to be like, or who can assist you, and it's not like a mentor. We tried this at Balls Rice. Well, let's assign everyone a mentor, and let's and that almost. Maybe it has worked here since I left. You figured it out, but it almost never works. It's when those relationships evolve naturally, and it's when you find Rick Brown, decided at a recruiting dinner that I might be fun to work with, and we worked together, and he had an innate sense, as many lawyers do around here, of when to throw you in the fire, knowing that you had exactly the skills that you needed and when not to. It's finding those, again, opportunities when they present themselves. And I've quit trying to fix the question of women in the law and leadership. I just encourage women to lead however you can. And it's one by one. It's a Mother Teresa thing. I'm going to help this person next. I'm going to help this person next. Can't solve the whole problem. But we can do it little by little.
So I think like most women,
I also answered 4 questions.
Yeah.
I'll let you do whatever you do.
like 50 things that went through my head at the same time. What I want to say, first of all, is that when I was in school, there were not many women in the accounting program, and I was the only woman in the master's program, only female in the master's program. Kind of fun, but And when I told my mother I wanted to be a CPA, she told me I had delusions of grandeur. And I can remember that conversation just like it happened yesterday. And my mom was not like that. She was a nurse. She encouraged all of her daughters to go forward and do all that they could do. My grandmother told my sister, who is a doctor, you're taking a job from a man. And so those are really things that while we were very loved and very blessed, they stick with you throughout your life. But there comes a time when you figure out I can do this. And it doesn't matter that I'm the only female in the room. Speed forward to the firms that I have worked for, and they have empowered women, and they have recognized that our path doesn't have to be the same as the male that's beside us. We have a lot of balls to keep up in the air. When you have a sick child, you have to leave, you have to go. And when that's supported by your employer and somebody else picks up the slack for the day, you know that you're in the right place. So I think if that leads to a mentor program, I think that maybe kind of started another question, and let's roll to a mentor program. The mentor is the person that helps you understand it's okay to manage your life, manage your work, and lead. And you got to bring all the skills to the table too. You can't shortcut anything. But when all of that works together, you can be successful. And I think that I've been blessed with that. I will say that I met my mentor when I was 12 years old, and he is the one who put me on the path for an accounting degree, which is probably when I had the conversation with my mother and she told me that I had delusions of grandeur. But I think that speaks to us being active in our communities and the things that are out there that help children understand there is a path that they can go on that would be different. My dad was an engineer. My mom was a nurse. I mean, those were the two paths I probably would have followed if I hadn't found somebody else who led me down a different path and became a mentor.
Well, it sounds like all of you have been mentors, and then you have very impactful mentors that led you to where you are today. So that's incredible to hear both sides of it. And Tricia, you mentioned kind of just balancing everything. So I wanted to lead into next. How do you all balance? And I know that this is a loaded question. How do you balance it all? But, if you all can talk about it, how do you balance your very demanding professional roles with your meaningful community involvement, with, being involved with your families? What does that look like? And Michelle, if you wanted to start.
Well, just big part of it is really managing your calendar well.
Yes.
And scheduling time off and scheduling, putting those important things on your calendar. There were years when I ran the nonprofit that they were literally a blur because I just worked and I never took time off. And then eventually I got to the point of like, you know what? If I drop dead here today, life will go on. And after that, I really made a point of scheduling time to be at my niece's recital in New York, to be with my nephews on campus, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I make the time and I schedule, put it on the calendar. And also learning to say no sometimes, because, you're invited to be on boards, and this, after a while, and initially they, it seemed really cool, but after a while it's like, you know what, I have to give some of this up.
Yeah.
So really learning to step back, giving others the opportunity to fill your slot and saying no, except for the without a commission. Yeah, I'm not gonna say no right now. And getting help. I mean, I've been at the foundation for a little over 10 years, and I never had an assistant. And now, even though I was told at the beginning, oh, you can have one if I didn't have, Becky was like, I didn't have one, but you can have one if you wanted to. And I didn't want to seem like the person who needs it. But I finally got an assistant, Tiara. So just getting help. Getting help along the way is also very important.
Absolutely.
My first year that I was mayor, I was so excited and I was so fired up, and I said yes to everything. I also read all the comments back then too. Because I'm actually being that was part of my job. You're paying my salary. I need to know. What are you thinking at all times? Where are you? How do you feel about me? And then I realized, because again, I think this is also part of, if we're really supposed to be mentors, and if we're really supposed to impart something that also punched me in the face, my weight went up. I never saw my children. I've been married 27 years. I never saw my husband. And so for the first 2 years of being mayor, I worked, when I mean 7 days a week. I still don't take a full day off, but now I have a color-coded calendar, which seems very juvenile. But what it does, it is a constant reminder to me of where I am spending my time. And it has been probably the most impactful thing that I have done that blends my professional life with my personal life. And so if it's red on my calendar, that means don't touch it. I have a set meeting. I have to be there. If it's pink on my calendar, it's my time. My time is from 5 to 7. Thus, I was a little late this morning. It's 5 to 7 because I also put my health as priority. I also put my sleep as priority. I work out 5 days a week. Come rain, sleet, snow, or hail. That is how I get my brain right, is now in the morning, which I didn't realize I needed, and didn't realize I could work smarter, faster, longer, stronger if I put things in my mouth and lifted heavy weights for me. So that's my time. It's in pink. And Andrew, who it helps me, knows pink is my time, or it's a physician's appointment. Yellow is my children's because they're banana. See what I did? They're banana. It's something with my boys. It's in yellow color. Or if it's I can maybe do it if I get there. If I leave this meeting, it's in green. I've penciled it. And so my calendar is like my life. My life is full now. It is colorful. It is vibrant, but it is a constant reminder. If I see red on my calendar for the whole week, I know I'm going to be stressed. I'm going to be running 9 ways to Sunday. I'm not going to come up as my best self. Again, this sounds very elementary, but it was the one thing that really helped guide better health, better connections, better friendships. I also got into the habit, which I think women do, because we're trying to rise so far, so fast. We are neglectful of our relationships, girlfriends as well, which kind of feeds who you are. And that is that mentorship, which, by the way, I have a great suggestion from Mayor Sharon Broom, who's the mayor of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She helped me with a mentorship program. I'm happy to talk to you about it. I don't know if it'll work or not. A lot of them don't, but it was a color-coded calendar to remind me, what are you doing, Amy, with your day, and how are you spending it? And doom scrolling is the devil in disguise. So I will just also say that. And started to do my New Year's resolution, haven't kept up with it all, was what points on my calendar do I start doing this? And I now have a spouse who says, what are you doing? I'm watching a funny video of a dog. I need to watch that.
Yeah. I love how you talked about really practical things, because I think that's one of the keys to it. But to back up, I am a firm believer that balance is an illusion. And, I have come to accept the sort of teeter-totter approach, which is the teeter-totter almost as a child. Do they still allow children to play on teeter-totters? No, if you don't know what it is, it's a little. But it almost never sits in the middle. There's always one side or another. And what I learned here from Sandy Murphy is that you go through seasons in your life. And there was a very specific, and Sandy was great about modeling this too. She, when her kids were small, she's like, I'm the mom right now. This is but you know what? I'm going to come back later and I'm going to do some stuff. But right now I'm the mom. And so this is going to look different. And she just accepted that in that season, whatever it is, caring for a parent, caring for a spouse, caring for your kids, your own illness, whatever the thing is, or deciding that you want to be on a big project or whatever, take it as seasons and find the little habits that help you along, because it will never balance. It will never, try. I love, the color thing, one of the little habits I have, and I have way too many now, but that I also came up with early on is managing email, right? We started with email and figuring out, I have this weird thing that I do to this day, that I don't want any more emails in my inbox than I can see on my screen. And if there is an arrow to scroll, I got to clear that email. I got to do something with it. I got to decide. I got to delegate it. I got to whatever. And it sounds ridiculous, but it helped me be an amazingly effective client development in terms of service, because I was good at responding to things, because I never had more emails than I could see. And that was just one, like, again, color coded, whatever.
Smart.
Early in the
We had a legal pad around here.
I know it's hard, and I know a lot of people like their 5,000 inbox, whatever. My head would explode if I had 5,000 emails in my inbox. I know you can sort them now. I know all the things. It was different then, but you just find the little habits that work for you and keep trying stuff. Like, it might not work for you to eat a certain way, or to exercise a certain way, or to get up at a certain time. Try something new. We're all like, oh, we can't change anything. You can. Okay.
I'll put a calendar, getting up at 5 a.m. to work out. Okay. I spent a big part of my career with the Junior League of Charleston, investing in young women and bringing them along. And what I would always tell them about balance in life is that, and I would use the example of keeping your balls in the air. You have lots of balls to keep in the air, and you might be a daughter and a mother and a lawyer and a CPA or whatever it is. We have a lot of things to keep up. They're not all going to be here on the teeter-totter evenly. There's going to be things that have to be high, and that means something has to drop. The goal is that the ball never hits the ground. So as long as you haven't lost something, you're doing okay, because it's going to rise back up at some point. Now, there are going to be times that your child is the one that has to be up here, or your husband, or your sick parent, or something, in addition to the case that's coming up or the tax return that's due. And so you are trying to manage it all at once. But that's when you use your village or your tribe or whatever you want to call the people around you that are at work or in your life that help you diffuse the situation and make sure that you're staying in balance.
And the bad news is, those folks, to your point, are probably not on Instagram. They're probably not on Facebook.
Because you have to trust them.
Yeah.
You have to trust the person who is mentoring you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or your girlfriends. I would agree with that. As you're progressing through life and you have these stages and you're a mother and you're working and you're taking care of elderly parents, girlfriends can fall by the wayside. Man friends can fall by the wayside. You need those people who will be honest with you and tell you that you're doing too much. You've lost sight of this, and you're way off base. So those people are very important in your life.
Well, I'm not shocked at all that all four of you try to do everything at all times, but that you've also found your way of balance, what works for me, what works for you. And that really is trial and error. I mean, we all here are learning it every single day. I feel like we're all still learning it every single day.
There was one thing I wanted to mention too. When I was thinking about this question, I asked my daughter when she was about 7 years old, what is it about mommy's life that you don't like? What is it that you would change if you could? Fully expecting the answer to be tax season hours, the amount of work that goes in during that time of the year. And her response was, I don't like those meetings on Sunday that you go to. Well, those meetings on Sunday were church trustee meetings.
Good Samaritan.
what am I going to do here? I mean, I try to make those fun. This was in the, early 2000s. I lugged a big TV with me to those meetings so that she could watch videos during those meetings. She didn't go always, but she didn't like that those meetings took 3 hours on a Sunday after church. So I went to the minister and said, I can't be on trustees anymore. Thankfully, it wasn't tax season. But, I honored her request and I got off of it. And I thought that helped create some balance in life of making sure what she saw was a negative was recognized and adjusted.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's incredible. And I'm sure you all have leaders who have always encouraged taking a step back or, perhaps changing something so that you can balance another area of your life. I'm proud to say Bowles does such an exceptional job of doing that. I've only been here for less than 10 years, but I think that's my biggest takeaway from this firm. They truly support, hey, this phase of your life, maybe you need to take a little step back here, change the way you do things. So, that's really insightful to hear from you all how that has impacted your careers. Next, I wanted to talk about an impact that you are most proud of yourself, either professionally, at home, in your community. What's something that stands out to you that you want to share with us? Whoever wants to start. Tricia?
I was afraid she was going to call.
I don't remember that question.
Yeah. Impact. I would probably, there are two things that come to mind. First of all, I am the managing partner of a firm that's been around for 50 some years, and 56 years. And there were only male managing partners before that. I think the ability to lead as a woman is very special, and that has been impactful in my life that I can do that. Our firm has 50%, close to 50%, and we admitted a man recently, so we went under 50%. But female leadership, that's a big deal. And we are an envy in the group that we're in because we have been able to support women throughout their career, and then to step into that leadership role for the firm overall, it has been probably one of the greatest things in my professional career. I also led the YMCA board for a long period of time, and that was an integral part in our family life. And so being able to support the YMCA and with my leadership skills and of course I started on the finance committee because that's what CPAs tend to do. But I think I know that I'm very proud of the work that I did there as well in order to continue to help a community organization like that. So,
Amy?
My kids like me.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be more impactful.
Yeah, actually, that's it. I was trying to think of what is the person, because I don't remember you giving us that question.
Oh my
But if I really have to be honest, and I think this is what this conversation is about, is that my kids call me. What are you doing, Mom? I'm in a meeting. What do you want? But they like me. They want to spend time with me. And that to me is so fulfilling because I wear their initials on my neck every day. Those are the humans on this earth that mean the most to me. Don't tell Booth Goodwin. He's third in line. But those are the spaces and places where I really feel like I am myself and I get to enjoy my time with my boys. Joe and Sam are 22 and 24 and they still call me and want to hang out with me. And that connection in my personal life shows me that I by the way, I let balls drop on the ground. I wasn't there. I mean, I left for Boston to go interview with John Kerry when Sam was 6 weeks old and I was still nursing. Was that the right decision at the time? I don't know. It was the decision I made. But we still kept connected as a family because those things are priority to me. So my personal life, even though ups and downs, I work at it, and I'm really proud of my relationship with my husband and my children and my very best friend, who's my sister and my Irish twin. What most people say when they serve in public, and I think what happens is it's what you can see. By the way, people like that. People like to have plaques with their names on it. People like to have big, tall buildings. And by the way, I don't own them all, so we're not going to talk about them all today. But, am I proud of
Man, I was so weird.
I know, right? Not today. Am I proud of City Center? Yeah, I'm proud of City Center because it was a $3 million investment that turned into $18 million in other projects. Am I proud of our, new Capitol connector. We're ripping up the riverfront, doing it again. Thank you to our senators for supporting us with funding. I'm building a $20 million public safety center. I'm renovating with $7 million all of our new firehouses. So firefighters in the city of Charleston don't have to sleep in bunks, because that is the way that they have had to sleep for years. You deserve a room that has a door that shuts, get a good night's sleep. And so those are things that people will see. And somebody will want to put somebody's name on it and something like that. Bob Wise taught me this a long time ago too. It's not the names on the places and not the names on the things, even though people get really exercised. The thing that I'm personally proud about that you may not see is that when I got to City Hall, this is real tangible, because I go away with things that you can hold on to. Remember those pink stickies? While you were out, Mary, Amy called, and she wants her pothole fixed on Smith Road. I got a lot of those right now. And I said to the young woman, how will I know if we did this? If I give this back to you, if I call Mary and I say, called, and I write back the time, how do I know if you sent it to the right person? So we started in the city of Charleston a customer service management system. It's taken years to implement, and it's fits and starts, so we don't always get it right. But if you call and say, hi, I'm Amy, I have an issue. We give you a number. We assign it to a director. It's processes. We should be customer service driven. You may not always get the answer that you want, by the way,
Right.
but you're going to get a number. You are going to get processed through the system. We are going to touch the ticket. Who's looking at this? And then the end of every month, I get a report. Who do we call back? Why didn't we? What was closed out? Some are easy, right? Oh, we did that pothole yesterday. You don't need to call her back.
Yeah.
But some are long-term. So it's processes. And then the largest thing, and we're not going to solve it. I'm not going to solve it. The mayor after me is not going to solve this, is dealing with mental health, unhoused population. We started for the very first, and again, I think it's also my responsibility as mayor to tell you what we're doing. Something I'm proud of was the care team. Boots on the ground, people who are truly trying to help people. If you want to get into recovery, I'm coming at you. 2 hands. I'm knocking on your door. If you overdose in the city of Charleston, within 24 hours, I'm sitting on your doorstep and saying, what do you need? By the way, it's 7 times. It takes me about 7 times when I knock on your door that you'll finally answer and finally do something, at minimum 7 times. And so this process of tracking and working with people, by the way, they're humans. People are humans. We all get frustrated. We all get exercised. But the care system is our answer right now in the city of Charleston that I am proud about, that we are doing the very heavy lifting of taking care of folks who are struggling, who have no place to go, no help, no resources, no families, because people live in cities and they live on sides of roads and under bridges. And so we put this plan in place in this process. A legacy piece to me is things that continue when you're gone, not a big building. So what am I proud of? I am hopeful that these processes and the things that we're doing and the way that we run government will continue long after I'm gone. That won't have no one will put a name on that. It'll just be better systems.
Lasting change.
We hope so.
Yes, absolutely.
What's yours, Michelle?
I'm thinking. It's hard to just get you asked for one. It's kind of hard to.
Anything
I
that
gave
stands
7.
out.
You can get
If you.
no, there's nobody going to stop you. I just gave 7.
I think while working, while leading KISRA, I think being able to grow from no budget to like a 4 million plus budget when I left, and being honored by President Obama during that time, it's really stood out for me as we worked to strengthen families, whether they were single parent homes to previously incarcerated people. It was really impactful work. At the foundation, with the help of my team, we've been able to really transform the organization into one that is more visible, more accessible, and just being able to support nonprofits like never before, building relationships with donors like never before. So that's really been pretty transformational. And then along the way, I was able to write a book that really captures my journey, as well as the lessons I learned as in running a nonprofit. So it's been a lot of things along the way, not as many as yours. Now.
My number one was my kids call me. That's all I did.
But really just being able to, philanthropy is just so fulfilling and just working with, it's amazing. It amazes us every day how generous people are in the midst of everything. There's still so many generous people who are wanting to help their fellow man. That's kind of what philanthropy is all about, love of humankind. And they show that love through giving of their assets. And it's just been such a joy to be able to support nonprofits in our area that are doing great work. So that's,
That's
making an
incredible.
impact every day. Yeah.
Thank you. And last but not least, Beth.
So when you get elected to something like the Supreme Court, everyone's like, this is a capstone, this is an accomplishment. It was just the start to get when I finally did get elected in 2016, having run unsuccessfully 8 years before that, because I walked into a place, I had no idea what I was walking into, but I found out about a year and a half later when they impeached the entire court, and I had to make a decision about what I was going to do, because I was getting advice, well, maybe you should just resign and walk away. And, I'm like, but this isn't fair. I haven't done anything wrong. And the decision to stay and fight first and then change things. It is probably the most visible thing I've done, but it's also the hardest and most important thing I've done, I think, setting aside personal life and all of that. Because I was in the right place at the right time. I didn't realize it until later. But what a splendid opportunity to use the skills I learned here and at WV Medicine, and, to all of a sudden be able to fix something that was so incredibly broken. And trust me, you have no idea how broken it was. It was really, the culture was a disaster. And, we started just little by little changing the big things, policies, actually documenting things. We got an employee handbook now. Imagine that. Well, I almost got performance evaluations done before I retired. Didn't quite get it, but you can only do so much in state government. But that's hands down what I did. And it was very gratifying, but I had a lot of help too.
Amazing answers. I wanted to round out our discussion and conclude with any advice that you have for professionals in West Virginia. Anything that stands out to you.
Do we have to pick one thing, or can we do 7? You start.
Well, I was thinking about that, and I think that West Virginia is such a unique place in that you can really craft an amazing career path here, or a journey that fulfills you in a way with community service. You can get involved. My friends who have lived in other states would always be amazed that you were on a board and you were doing this and doing that. And they just couldn't get that same traction in whatever community or state they were in. And so I think the ability to get involved and to be a leader in areas that are near and dear to your heart end up being what fulfills you as a person. And that makes you better. It makes you help your community. It makes you a better leader. It helps you to run a company that then employs other people who can then take care of their families. Beth, think about that. If you hadn't decided to run and lose and then run and the whole path, you wouldn't have been there to make that change that needed to be done. So hindsight is 20/20, but gosh, the opportunities that are here are really amazing. We have challenges. Do you own the mall yet? But our challenges can be overcome, and the beauty of it is we're going to do it together. So,
and I love because it highlights something you said early on about finding things that you care about and being involved in the community, because I think that is really important, because you're not going to accomplish anything great if you don't love it, in my view, in my humble view. But so you've already covered that, and so I'm going to pivot to the other thing, which is my sort of soapbox issue, which is take care of yourself. You have to make sure that you are capable of doing the things you do in well-being, being a balanced person, taking care of your mental skills, your spiritual skills, your intellectual skills, your financial skills, all of those things. Because if you don't, and I hate this, but I use it because it's so effective, if you don't put your own oxygen mask on first, you can't help other people. And you can you can go a long time without it. We're, again, especially in this room, lawyers, very high achieving. We pride ourselves on being able to do the hardest things under the worst conditions with the least amount of sleep, with the whatever list of things, but it is not sustainable over the long term. And I think, that goes to your point about this firm and balance and all of the things. You have to take care of yourself first so that you can be there for the people who need you, your family, your clients, your everybody in the community who, while you're doing the things that you want to do.
I would say that hard work is hard. Hard work is hard, but it can be done. But we just need to be as honest about that hard work. I don't understand. Can you help me? Can you find somebody that can help me through this challenge position that I'm in? So do the hard work. It can be done. Don't be afraid to say, I'm going to do it. Even if you're not really sure, you think you're ready, go ahead. But surround yourselves with people that you trust, because I think that's the number one. You've got to be trustworthy, and be authentic. Be your authentic self. If you're a 9, be a 9. If you're a 3, be a 3. It's okay to be your authentic self.
But find your 9.
But find your 9.
Find your 9.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Dr. Foster?
I think what comes up for me is that West Virginia is a place where you can make an impact. I moved here 30 something years ago, and I've stayed here so many years because I think I feel like I can make an impact here. And there are enough people who believe that you can work with to really make that impact. And I just maintaining a sense of hope is also important. I mean, we are in some rough times, but just maintaining a sense of hope and, not to be cliche, but be the change you want to see. It's like, don't just sit around and complain. Figure out, what can I do to contribute to that? What can I do to make a difference? How can I help? Instead of just sitting there, oh, that mayor. Sometimes I'm like, you've heard me. I'm like, well, who are you talking about? I said, what mayor? So just instead of sitting out there and complaining, figure out how you can make a difference and just get in there and do what you can to make that difference.
That's incredible advice. Thank you so much, you all. I'll open it up to Q&A. If anyone in this room has any questions, I'll kind of pivot towards all the offices as well.
I got one.
Yes.
At some point, you all mentioned people who've had an impact on you, and a lot of it was just like offhand comments that were made to you, like, hey, you'd be good at this, or hey, like something that person probably did not anticipate would change your whole life. How can we're so involved in our own stuff. How can we be mindful of that when we're talking to others? How do you do that when you're trying to see the good in others? Just sort of keeping that in mind and seeking out talent and making sure that you can be that person for somebody.
It's realizing that words matter and just being very careful what you say. Like, I'm in the education elevators program, a young elevatee at Westside Middle. And last morning, she was not turning in her work. So I'm like, you've got one job, go to school. When you get to be my age, you'll have bills for now. So just being very, very, look her dead in the eye. Stop turning your work. That's your one job. Focus on that, and then, worry about everything else later. But just being very deliberate in making time to speak life into someone else is really important. Yeah.
Any other questions?
We advanced them all so quickly.
I'm not watching the time. They know.
Yeah. I am so blind, so someone will have to help me with.
Tara
has her hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really am blind.
That's okay. Yeah, no, it's fine. Earlier, you had mentioned at the very beginning how no one's going to lead you. You realized at some point that you had to take those steps. When you finally get to the end of yourself, though, like how do you reach out for help? When do you finally recognize I need a mentor on this path? How do you find that balance of, okay, I've given all that I can. I need someone to point me, at least shed some light on a different direction.
I think that to step back from your question a little bit is that you have to build a network in life. It's not a marketing network, although that's some aspect of it. It is a network of people who you can trust, who bring the expertise that you're going to need someday. That might be an HVAC company that's in your network or a plumber.
I love that.
But you need to have those people that you can call on that will bring the expertise that you might need. And then the day will come that you need that expertise. And so you call on those people. I think we all have to be authentic is a buzzword these days, authentic with ourselves and say, I've hit the wall here. I don't know any more about this. And I can't even understand what the printed material says about it. And then you go find the person that does know that information and ask them for help. People love to help you if you're genuine about asking for help and receptive to receiving it. So I think that's when you know you can't get it any further in your brain, you got to go find the help.
May I add one more thing? This is what I would also say. I go to a lot of conferences and a lot of spaces and places with, leadership. And what I find is everybody goes back to my mayor, Weston Broom, who I adore. If you know Mayor Sharon Weston Broom, she's fabulous. People sit at the same table with the same people. People go to the suppers with the same people at the same table. They're all the same law firm, same accounting firm, and they all go together. Get up. Do not sit with the people that you are sitting with when you get there. We were never allowed to do this. National League of Cities, she's president, U.S. Conference of Mayors. She did a drill with us one day. Never forget it because I have mentors now all across the country. Why? Mayor Sharon Weston Broom, who said, before you put your pocketbooks down and take a bite of the bread basket, do not sit where you were sitting. Because, by the way, guess who I was sitting with? The young woman from Morgantown. I was over in Utah. I said, get up. You don't know that person over there. Go make yourself uncomfortable. I don't know this lady over here. But now I have mentors all across the country of people who are in the same situations that I'm in. Mayors from all across the country. 2 of my very closest friends are from Fort Collins, Colorado. The deputy mayor and a council member who I call all the time. Now, hey, what are you doing? What do you think about this? We're going to try to do this. I saw that you did it, saw it in the paper, didn't see it worked well. And so getting out of that uncomfortable space, that's the biggest challenge I see with people who are trying to, how do I lead? How do I take that next step? Is to make yourself uncomfortable and break bread with people who have no idea who they are, because you don't know who's going to be your mentor. You don't know who you're going to trust just yet, but you only will if you get outside of your comfortable circle.
And then I'm going to add one little thing. And if you're at the point maybe where, or someone is at the point maybe where they don't have their network exactly right yet, they're still working on it, they haven't really found their mentor yet, start with someone you trust and ask their advice. And if you feel like you need help, seek it out. It might not be the person you report to. One thing I've learned along the way, you never walk into your quote boss's office and dump a problem on their desk, because you have to, so it's better to walk in and say, okay, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. Do you have any advice on how I can get there? As opposed to, this is terrible. The world is ending. It's over. But you got to start with someone you trust. And I know that everybody has trusted relationships, and then build on that until you get to the network and the tribe and the mentors.
And then you find people you trust.
And right.
And probably stepping back from that is to be willing to say, I don't have the answer here. Here's the research I've done. And here's what I've got here. I need some guidance.
Chat GPT probably is not going to help in this. It might give you some ideas.